Hey, what's up, Street Talks? The Eric from the Eric Street Photography blog. So I wanted to make a quick video with you sharing this idea of the will to shoot. So the basic idea is this. You see the world and it's so beautiful, obviously, and you have this impulse to photograph it. And I think it's really important to think about this will to shoot because that is the source of our creative power as photographers. And it's interesting because I'll talk a little bit about my personal experiences. When you start off as a photographer, as a beginner or whatever, you don't really censor yourself. You photograph anything and everything is so fun, it's so enjoyable. And as you get more experienced, then you start learning about full frame and different lenses and post-processing, RAW, JPEG, and all these other silly settings. It actually starts to ruin your photographic experience. And I know this has happened for myself personally. You'll see something you want to photograph, but you don't photograph it because you think, oh, it's not going to be a good photo anyways, or I've already photographed it, or someone else has already photographed it before and they've probably done it better than I have, therefore it's not worth photographing. Now I think this is nonsense because just because someone else has photographed it doesn't mean that you shouldn't photograph it. It's almost like, other people have eaten food in the past, thus I will not eat food. It kind of makes no sense. And the truth is, you'll always photograph it differently than other people have photographed it anyways, because you're going to use a different lens, a different camera, a different time period. You see the world differently, you're going to frame it differently, and obviously the world is constantly in a state of flux, so things are always different. So once again, if you see something that you want to photograph, even though you might think it might be a bad photograph, even though there's a 1% chance it might be an interesting photo, even like 0.5% of a chance, it's still worth photographing. And the motto we should follow is just shoot it. And I think, and then this is just thinking deeper, is that why do we have this will to shoot? So I think there's many different reasons why we want to make photographs. And it doesn't have to be one of these things, and sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't, that's fine. There's different purposes of photograph. First is artistic self-expression. So I think all of us, we have an inner artist within ourselves and we want to create art. And maybe in the past you might have drawn, painted, written, poetry, whatever. For some reason or another, we discovered the camera is a good tool for our artistic self-expression. And therefore we use the camera as a tool to create images that we consider beautiful. And what I know for myself, whenever I want to photograph things, is that you see things, people, situations that you discover you think are beautiful, and you want to capture and you want to immortalize that moment. You want to make it more permanent, because all these beautiful things that happen in our lives, which are impermanent and are fleeting, it makes us a little bit sad because you're like, oh man, it was so beautiful. I want to keep this moment alive as long as possible. And so perhaps within photography, our psychology, there's a sense of loss and maybe a sense of losing something. So even with memory, I know that I've always had a bad memory growing up. And so for me, photography is an opportunity for me to remember things, to augment my memory, for me to photograph moments, people, scenes which I consider personally meaningful, and I don't want to forget it. And it's actually really nice because often I'll photograph things and look back at my old photos and, oh, I forgot about that, I forgot about that, I forgot about that. And so for me, without the camera, without the photograph, I would have less appreciation in my life because I have a harder time recollecting the past. So for example, this is why I think even at the end of every single year, it's good to look at the photos that you shot the whole year, or even look at photos you shot like 1 or 2 years ago. And the last few days I've been spending a lot of time looking at photos that I shot last 2-3 years. And I'm like, whoa, I totally forgot that I lived in Osaka, Kyoto, I spent some time in Tokyo and Marseille and Lisbon and all these different places. And this is the funny thing too, is that no matter how good of a life you're living, or how many great experiences you've had, or even if you've had the most intense, amazing experiences, if you don't really remember it, it's a little bit empty in the sense that a life where you don't remember any of the joys, it's kind of it's going to depress you because it's going to prevent you from continuing to live your life. And I think the ultimate thing we should strive for is to every single day wake up with optimism, hope, joy, a deep sense of gratitude, and also power, enthusiasm, motivation, inspiration to live today to the fullest maximum we can. And so I feel that by looking at old photos of the past and past experiences, that kind of gives me additional vigor and inspiration to live today and also the future. Because I also don't think it's healthy for us to live too much into the past, but I think it's good to have a sense of inspiration and motivation and appreciation of the past in order to help us propel us forward into the future. And so also, I think not all photographers, but I think most photographers I know will generally say, oh, I wish I had more opportunities to shoot, or I had more inspiration to shoot, or I had more motivation to shoot. How can we fix these problems? Well, so for myself, it's kind of, it's not like, okay, if I instantly just kept traveling the world, I find inspiration to shoot photos, because obviously you would, but the problem is it's not really sustainable if your job isn't to always travel the world. If you have a 9-to-5 job, whatever, I would just keep it super simple. So generally, even in my front pocket, keep the trusty Ricoh GR version 2, fits in your front pocket. No, also like people, I've been mentioning the Fujifilm XF10 as well as this camera. They're both great cameras. I still think, like, even though my Ricoh GR2 is broken, it's still, I think, the best everyday camera / street photography camera. And I can't say for most people, but at least for myself, because the JPEG settings and the presets and everything are better, and the flash and the ergonomics are better. So if you just want a good every single day camera, get a Ricoh GR version 2. Another solution is just shoot with your phone. I mean, at this point, phone cameras are just so good. Just shoot more with your phone. It's quite simple. And it's also what I think it is that it's extracting the maximum opportunities out of what you have right now. So for example, if you're living a more domesticated home life, it kind of doesn't make sense for you to just like whip yourself in the back and say, oh, I'm so miserable because I wish I was traveling instead. It's like, no, perhaps you could use this opportunity to photograph more of your loved ones, your friends, your family. And you don't always have to be making photos either. There's so many different forms of self-expression. There's forms of, maybe you could use this time to write. Maybe you could use this time to look at your old photos and publish books of your own work. And so it's using any single opportunity you have to the maximum. Because like, for example, when I'm on the road or I'm traveling or somewhere exotic, I'm more focused on shooting photos, obviously, right? But I don't have that much opportunity to look at my older work, to edit it down, to curate it, and so forth. So moments where I'm a little bit more situated in one spot, I'll use that as an opportunity for me to actually go through my work, to think about my photos, to kind of curate my work and to update my website and stuff like that. So, because I think a life where you're permanently on the road and you never had the chance to review any of your photos, I don't think you could actually extract the fullest maximum potential of photography that way either. Also, I think the will to photograph, I mean, there's also different things, is that I think also often you want to photograph something because you don't quite understand it, like sometimes people, faces, whatever, and you want to photograph it in order to look at it and examine it later. And this is maybe perhaps more of a scientific thing. And one thing I like to do in street photography, photograph strangers and people in situations, that to me it's kind of visual sociology, to understand how other people interact and live. And I do this in order to maybe offer some sort of critique towards society, some sort of constructive critique, where I could hopefully, improve society or make things a little bit better. So anyways, just to recap, the will to photograph is something that's very important. Whenever in doubt, just shoot the photo and then figure out what to do with it later. Don't overthink it. Just shoot with the phone, shoot with anything that's simple for you. Don't wish that you're somewhere else, because if you're living a life where you always wish you're somewhere else, you're going to forget how grateful you are to be where you are right now. And don't think that your external circumstances are more powerful than you. Think that you're more powerful than whatever situation. And think of yourself as like somebody who could mold, create, change warp reality in some sort of positive way and to extract the maximum benefits out of whatever you have in life. So anyways, why do you shoot photos? What is your will to make photos? Leave a comment down below and say, I photograph because So for example, Eric Kim, I photograph because it's a way for me to express gratitude of being alive, to showing love and gratitude towards my loved ones, Cindy Project, and also as a way to hopefully inspire and motivate other people to make photos. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Share your personal thoughts, and when in doubt, just shoot it. Peace out.